Our next presentation is E-commerce Revenue Automation. We have two speakers, Neil Greenstein, Director of Customer Development and Team Lead for Amazon at Johnson & Johnson, and Guru Hariharan, CEO of Commerce IQ. Gentlemen, the podium is yours.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for joining. It's a pleasure to present to you all, and we are very excited with the agenda that we have for today. With me, I have Neil Greenstein, who's our partner out at Johnson & Johnson, and we're here to talk to you about how the world is changing and how best-in-class consumer brands are responding and reacting to accommodate for this demand shock and setting up for a fantastic future. From an agenda standpoint, real quick before we jump in, this is what we're going to be talking about. We'll start with talking a little bit about giving you a context in terms of what sort of demand shock are we seeing in e-commerce. Next, we'll do a quick introduction about e-commerce revenue automation, as we refer to it, or ERA, and that will set the foundation for mastering the new world of algorithm e-commerce. And finally, going to Johnson & Johnson with a deep dive on how J&J is setting up and Neil setting this up for a long-term success. To start with, we believe we are going to see a permanent shift in how people buy consumer goods, and that e-commerce is quickly becoming the new normal. Current online shoppers are just increasing their share of wallet on buying online, whether it's be through Amazon Fresh or Prime Now or Whole Foods, just to name a few. And of course, new users are starting to who traditionally purchased through brick and mortar are now coming online in record numbers, and lots of them are going to be staying even after this pandemic sort of dies down. So with that, we are looking at some pretty phenomenal numbers in the way that e-commerce is growing. Just to give you a little bit of an idea, this is what we saw Bank of America and Shaw Spring Research put out just a few days ago in the Atlantic, and this is really a wow figure as you look at it, which is just to sort of help read through this graph. In the past 10 years, from 2009 to 2019, online penetration in the U.S. grew from 5.6% to 16%. And just in 3 months, which is quarter one, we have seen this grow from 16% to 27% in online penetration. And that is pretty staggering. Now, you might ask, is this a temporary phenomena? How much of that is going to be is going to stick? Tell you what, none of us know the answer to that, but I think all of us would agree to the fact that, number one, it's not going to stay at the high, but also at the same time, it's not going to go back to the pre-COVID era. And it is certainly going to be plateauing out at a number between 16 and 27%. I'm guessing around 22 to 23%. But let's talk about what does that mean and how do you, as a consumer brand, set yourself up for success. So it is important to set some context on how things are fundamentally changing in the new world of e-commerce. And depending on how far along you are on this journey, you may be living this right now. So if you look at the pre-brick-and-mortar era, for instance, winning the moment of purchase was controlled by people and relationships. And it's been done the same way for decades. Brick-and-mortar retailers collaborate closely with consumer brands on processes like joint business plan and so on. And there's just a limited amount of shelf space to take. And these relationships allowed consumer brands to control the shelf, limiting the availability for upstart competitors to easily get into the category. But in the new world of e-commerce that was led by Amazon, winning at the moment of purchase is determined not by people, but really by machines and algorithms. Physical constraints of shelf space are completely gone, and consumer behavior controls the shelf. With the constantly changing algorithms are now managing what products are being sold and what you buy as a consumer. And we do believe that there's going to be a step function in increase in sales due to the current COVID-19 crisis. And understanding how to work through these and tune these algorithms is going to be even more critical than before. But it can be a huge challenge for consumer brands with hundreds of products with dozens of variables that are constantly changing. Just to give a little bit of an example, this is a real example of one of our customers that they actually used in this type of an analysis to help their board understand the challenges that they were facing with e-commerce. You think about 400 items or SKUs with usually about 30 variables online, such as inventory, promotions, advertising that are constantly changing every single day, 7 days a week, which means they have to make 84,000 decisions every single week. Now, even if you have a team of 10 working 12 long-hour days, guess what? You can't keep up. You got to make 2 decisions a minute. Throwing more bodies at the problem is not going to solve the problem. As you could imagine, this company was overwhelmed with trying to prioritize tasks and make the actions happen in a timely fashion. Now, you may be thinking, hey, not all those 84,000 decisions are equally important, but guess what? The best-in-class organizations are making these decisions, all the 84,000 of them, and starting to really dominate the shelf. Now, let's look at how we can resolve this conundrum that we have in front of us. We call an approach, and we've introduced an approach into the market called e-commerce revenue automation, or ERA for short. ERA is the practice of using algorithms, analytics, and machine learning and automation in real time to tune e-commerce algorithms and optimize the e-commerce channel by winning at the moment of purchase. And we've been actively collaborating with a community of brands to define the best practices on how to really high performers win and achieve profitable market share growth. Now, there are 3 best practices three major buckets where these best practices fall under, which go as insights, actions, and collaboration. And the differences between low and high performers are often super stark. Like, for instance, low performers are often manually siloed, looking at manually siloed data specific just to their organization, be it supply chain or marketing, and prioritizing and tracking decisions using Excel spreadsheets. High performers, on the other hand, are automatically collecting data from across marketing, sales, operations, and beyond, and in near real time, using the shared single source of truth to prioritize decisions and actions and automate using machine learning. If you look at advertising, for instance, low performers are relying on return on ad spend, or ROAS metric, which is really a very myopic metric. If you're measuring your e-commerce and digital advertising spend based on return on ad spend, or ACoS, you're living in 2019. In contrast, high performers are using closed-loop automation strategies for ads to really drive share of voice, an organic share of voice, and which is also a leading indicator for incremental sales and incremental revenue and high profitability on the channel. The business impact for high-performing and low-performing brands and the difference is pretty significant. Now, as we said, e-commerce is starting to become a new normal, which is something that we talk about on a daily basis right now. After talking to many of our customers, I think there's another prediction we can make. Hearing almost every single customer that we've talked to in the last 3 to 4 weeks, that in Q2, most best performing organizations are beginning to refocus on e-commerce. And many of them are starting to say it's in the top 3 priority for the CEO. Here are some metrics that we've seen in terms of what this growth is starting to look like. In especially categories which are essentials, the numbers are pretty dramatic, and the growth numbers are pretty staggering. For instance, dog food is up 12x, 1,200%. Cold and flu medicine is up 9x. Toothbrushes were up 8x, and so on. And there's obviously there's a few of the products were significantly up year over year, but the reality is the thousands of products experiencing such as staggering growth, and almost 90% of the categories online are seeing such growth. And if you're a consumer brand trying to deal with this sudden surge in demand, it creates both opportunities and threats to your business. Let's just double-click real quick in terms of top 3 execution challenges and top 3 strategic questions that best-in-class e-commerce teams are facing and successfully handling. From an execution standpoint, this sudden spike in demand is creating issues across sales, supply chain, operations, and marketing. The first challenge is the unpredictable nature of the demand leading to uncontrollable out-of-stock situations. Next, lack of coordination of supply chain and marketing is leading to wasted dollars in advertising and promotions. And finally, there's more than 100% increase in 3P activity right now, third-party seller activity, and this is really causing brand protection challenges for consumer brands. Now, there is a difference in how these challenges are emerging, for instance, essential and non-essential categories. For brands selling consumer essentials such as health, personal care, and pet food, they're showing up as supply shortages, and they can't keep up with consumer demand. And the spike in 3P activity is leading to both revenue leakage and bad brand perception, and advertising and promotion dollars are potentially being misspent. For brands selling non-essentials such as furniture, office supplies, they're facing a different set of challenges which are emerging on the same lines. They're taking a different avatar. For instance, Amazon is not cutting purchase orders in real time, and they've reduced the number of POs. And because they don't have room in their warehouses, they've reduced the volumes. So most brands have not invested in developing a direct fulfillment capability. So that is starting to emerge as a bigger problem. While these challenges are here and now, let's also look at the top 3 challenges the CEO office is starting to think about. From a strategic standpoint, we're starting to see consumer brands are dealing with some very important and strategic questions and starting to prepare for it. Number 1 is profitability. Historically, profitability numbers on online channels like Amazon have been very low because of the fact that the cost to serve online is much higher because of the assortment mix that you have. With a sudden shift in e-commerce to brick-and-mortar sales, the profitability profile of the company is really risking taking a big dip. And now you have to have a strategy when things come back to normal on how do you really deal with that. The second challenge is assortment. What is really your assortment strategy for e-commerce? Again, related to profitability, how do you really reconfigure your assortment to account for high cost to serve to fit the profitability objectives of the company? Can you really sell those $3 items to be profitable, or do you need to go back and reconfigure those items, whether it be soft or hard bundles? And finally, brand protection challenges through uncontrolled 3P marketplace. For instance, guess where all the hoarders are going to go with all the toilet paper that they overbought after the COVID crisis? Amazon Marketplace. And so based on that, we've noticed a whole bunch of sellers recently loading up nearly even near expired products such as variants, and they're bringing out as variants on your product detail pages. And we've seen some pretty stark issues in terms of even price gouging, which is overall really affecting the brand image of your products. So at this point, I want to bring in our customer, Johnson & Johnson. Neil's been leading a lot of these changes from the front and really helping Johnson & Johnson be super successful in these changing times. So Neil?
Hey, thank you so much, Guru. As you went through a lot of the strengths of your tool in the Commerce IQ platform, I started thinking of the thousands of ways that I feel like we've put a lot of those key tenets to use. And what I'll be doing today is at least in the time allotted, giving a flavor for going through some use cases in some particular areas that I think the tool has really helped us out and utilizing Commerce IQ and machine learning to really help us out with how we navigate Amazon, especially in a post-COVID world. So if we want to move to the agenda slide. For some reason, here we go. Awesome. So today, three things. First, I'll be able to provide everyone here with a little bit of a detail on the impact of COVID-19 on our J&J consumer business. Everyone understands it's a new world versus weeks or months ago. And as Guru eloquently went through, some of the data points on how it's become an inflection point, and there's going to be permanent shifts both for the shopper and then how vendors, from an enterprise standpoint, attack that. And I love the fact that it was talked about as e-commerce has now become a gravitational center for the enterprise. I just started laughing when I saw that slide because there's been countless situations working with a particular brand team on issues or opportunities, especially on Amazon, where we may have been kind of like salmon swimming upstream for the past year on a particular issue, and now it's kind of with the gravitational center being e-commerce, the script is flipped, and it's we have too many opportunities and people wanting to accelerate than time in the day. So things have shifted quite a bit, and I'll get into a little bit of who J&J is and some of the brands and the size of our portfolio to help frame things out for folks as we navigate Amazon as a leading CPG vendor. And I'll talk a little bit about what things were like for us pre-AI decision support or pre-Commerce IQ, and then some of the successes or use cases that have been enabled by us working in the tool on a daily basis, along with some future opportunities. So as I mentioned, the journey, if we talk about the 84,000 decisions analogy, in our city, and that was a vendor with, I think, 400 ASINs. We have thousands of ASINs. Our business ranges from a couple of different major business units. We have a skincare business that's brands such as Neutrogena, Aveeno, Lubriderm, Rogaine, and many others. A SelfCare or OTC heritage business, and you can imagine anchoring that, especially of late, post-COVID, has been our Tylenol business. We have many other leading brands, Zyrtec, Pepcid, Sudafed, and others in that space, and then personal care businesses such as Oral Care, Listerine, Band-Aid from a wound care, and Neosporin from a wound care perspective, and a baby business with Aveeno Baby and Johnson's and Desitin. So a lot of different businesses, a number of different Amazon GLs or vendor management teams that we work with, and all that leads to a lot of complexity. So when prior to having the Commerce IQ tool, trying to do those 84,000 or more decisions manually, we were like chickens with our head cut off, just trying to kind of stay above water and not really doing that all that successfully in terms of fighting the daily fires with Amazon. As all of you know, there's probably 40 or 50 quote unquote Ps that you're managing, as opposed to the traditional 4 when dealing with Amazon versus a brick and mortar environment. Once we converted to Commerce IQ, the biggest thing that I could tell you that helped us is basically providing us with that order of operations. The AI-enabled decision support, putting together on a daily basis, okay, here's what is the most priority item in the second and the third based on revenue impact, and categorizing those based on, okay, what specific action needs to be taken. So I'll get into a couple of those use cases as we move on. So real quick, since we started working with Commerce IQ back in March, it's been a little bit over a year, our results from Q2 through Q4, we definitely saw very healthy revenue growth and glance view and conversion. And really where the tool helped us out was it was also getting our rep out of stock in shape. Obviously, in a post-COVID world, we've seen a lot of these numbers significantly spike. And what I can tell you is probably looking at the last 45 to 60 days, these numbers are well into the triple digits in terms of revenue growth. And we have many brands, some of them I mentioned, probably led by Tylenol, where growth has been in the 4 digits and not even 3 digits from a percentage standpoint. And that's where you see a rep out of stock all of a sudden, decrease by 80% versus last year, because when you have demand spikes that Guru highlighted of quadruple digits, you're going to have out of stock dynamics that you're going to have to manage. And the tool has helped us really be at the pulse to the extent we can and mitigate when we have brands that are up in quadruple digits percentage-wise, to actually keep rep out of stock at 80% increase over a prior year where we had decreased by 30%. Actually been quite a feat and quite a win. So if we go to the next slide, if anyone's familiar with the Commerce IQ platform, the capabilities are kind of housed into 3 main areas: sales, marketing, and operations. And give me 1 second. Sales, marketing, and operations. And there's many things that I can get into here that have helped us dramatically. The first one, rogue third-party variants. The tool helps flag when a third party is using a rogue variant on your page. When we first turned the tool on last year, we had countless, I think 500 or more instances of this, and the tool actually flags these and then even has automation through Amazon vendor services to action or create tickets on those. And we basically have almost completely eliminated rogue third-party variants from our pages, which has been a tremendous benefit to us. Same for duplicate and independent 3P listings, which it also does a very nice job of. One of the use cases that I'll get into in a minute, but a variant change. Now, post-COVID, we have really had to spend time getting our variants on our pages in really good working order. And one of the things that the Commerce IQ team worked with us on was the ability to track and flag and keep order of all of our variant changes that we wanted executed, and sometimes in a very rapid fire manner in the post-COVID environment. And I'll get into that use case in a bit. And then if anybody is familiar with working with Amazon from a mechanical standpoint, suppressed ASINs or PDPs and on cords, those are all things that can really upend your business. And again, having a tool that is helping proactively flag when those issues are occurring and helping resolve has been a big help. As I said, days versus months, if you look at the section to the bottom of the slide, to get some of those things resolved. And then getting a lot of this data fed into AMS, campaign management logic, so that we can make decisions, smart decisions on the fly as supply, demand, or PDP mechanics change in a near real-time environment has been very key to really optimize at a very basic level, as Guru stated, return on ad spend, but to take that to a much bigger level and look at overall marketing mix and other things are also driven by a lot of those types of decision support metrics provided by Commerce IQ, especially the inventory position and availability. One of the biggest helps to us as well is Commerce to our PO volumes with Amazon. So it actually has predictive out-of-stock capability as well, where it's going to flag and provide logic not only where we're actually having an out-of-stock, but it will predict an out-of-stock based on a number of factors in terms of vendor lead time, open PO quantities, et cetera, which is fantastic. Content changes are also huge in our environment. And for anybody, we've been able to do some beta testing of different claims, and the tool also helps track and put some analytics around that, which is great. And we can go to the next slide. So real quick, a use case on variant tracking. So under recommendation types, one of the things that Commerce IQ worked with us to add was change in variants. And what you can see here is on a number of different Neutrogena, Benadryl, there's a couple other products here. You can see it tracks for us as our team initiates changes in variants for many reasons, including in-stock positioning or item profitability, in encouraging traffic to a better, more reliable ASIN or a more productive ASIN for us. And you can see the tool helps log when those changes are occurring, which really helps us out tremendously. Commerce IQ actually released today, what was great, a Chrome extension where you could be on an Amazon PDP and it actually will, on a graph, flag for you almost visually chart when all these variant changes were made on a particular PDP, which is really helpful as well. And the second piece of this that we're also leaning into post-COVID is being able to use variants to drive traffic to virtual bundle ASINs. This is a capability that we've started to work on. I think it's been beta tested with certain vendors. And you have to work with your Amazon AVS or SAS, I think they keep on changing the acronym, or your vendor specialist, to basically have Amazon create a bundle or soft bundle variant or ASIN. And being able to have those variants set up properly is really key, because those are Amazon-owned ASINs. They're not visible through ARA reporting. You can't run AMS campaign yet at this point in time directly against those Amazon-created ASINs. So we really have had to rely on variants to drive traffic to those ASINs, and it's actually been quite an initial success for us. We can go to the next slide. Another use case is PDP availability. So one of the things we've seen post-COVID is, to the best of their ability, but again, it's the benefits and also the drawbacks of an algorithmically driven environment that is Amazon. There's all kinds of scraping with all the best intent of Amazon to challenge products making certain claims about being, germ removing or having germ removal capabilities. We sell a lot of different wipes. One of our biggest codes is a Neutrogena makeup removing wipe. And we had even mechanical issues where some of their algorithms were scraping incorrectly and putting PDPs into suppressed status because of the fact that it's a wipe, and it was trying to equate it and use logic as the same as like a Lysol wipe, for instance, and some of the things that it was trying to put through from a filter standpoint. And being able to have in the tool real-time flagging of PDP availability tests that it's doing, availability status, maintenance that it's running, and then triggering to us when those on an exception basis when those instances are happening has been a very big win for us post-COVID. And then to kind of wrap things up, what's great is the tool provides you with a recap of all of the customization recommendations that it has recommended, and the value the revenue value that's associated with those recommendations. And this is an example through May of where we're at from a year-to-date standpoint. So tremendous value we've gained, and again, post-COVID has really helped us keep our lost revenue directly from out of stock to single digits as a % of our purchase COGS per week, which given some of the supply volatility that we've experienced as a manufacturer and continue to, in a time of such unprecedented demand, has been a big win. And then to wrap up, in terms of future focus, we're working with Guru and his team on some more, as he said, as Amazon gets more and more hands off the wheel, further back-end optimization logic with PO and catalog error resolution. Another big thing for us is marketplace pricing, as Guru mentioned. We have an MFP, or minimum featured price, policy on a lot of our product portfolio, and getting some further optimization built into the tool for that, as well as being able to further develop optimization around a 3P partner or hybrid model that we have for pieces of our portfolio as well. So tool does a lot, the platform does a lot, but what's great about Guru and his team is they're always willing to take our ideas, and we're often, we're not always shy on ideas or ways to add capabilities to the tool, and very much more often than not, the team at Commerce IQ have been very accommodating and have been able to incorporate those requests. So thank you.
Great. Neil, that was very informative. Thanks for taking us through. One of the questions that came up that wanted to send your way is, given the COVID current place where we are at, there's obviously it's putting a lot of pressure and work on the e-commerce teams and the operators, and it's just impossible to think about bringing on a new vendor, a new partner, a new tool. Do you talk a little bit about potentially, is there any sort of impact in terms of your time? Like, does it save time? Does it free up any time for you and your teams working on Amazon or other e-commerce channels?
Oh, I mean, immensely. This is a lot of our direct, as we call CDMs, or customer development managers, different pieces of the business of our portfolio at Amazon, to actually be strategically focused at times, even in a time of COVID like this. A perfect example is on our SelfCare side. All of the abilities where this tool helps us firefight and put out fires, in fractions of time compared to what we did in the past, because part of we spent so much more time just trying to diagnose a problem, where the platform, for those who aren't familiar with it, not only flags problems, but categorizes them into buckets that are actionable, many times even within the tool, with a closed loop resolution process, which is great. Time that frees up, we've been able, just within post-COVID, one of the biggest areas of opportunity is changing dynamics with consumers, TCs online, is SSA and HSA eligibility, and being able to use flexible spending or healthcare spending. And the government is actually very changing the eligibility requirements in a post-COVID world for products, especially OTCs, like Tylenol, that previously you needed a script in order to file an SSA or HSA claim, and being able to work with Amazon strategically on an FSA, HSA store where Tylenol's featured, and be able to work on really strategic efforts like that. That's just one of many examples of strategic work that we probably wouldn't have had the manpower or time freed up to really bring something like that over the goal line, while dealing with all the daily 84,000 or 200,000 or whatever it ends up being, decisions that you have to do.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Neil. Excellent. So just to finally wrap things up, and happy to take more questions, both Neil and I. Please feel free to use the chat on the left-hand side to interact. We are, as Commerce IQ, we have been students of this industry, and we've got a lot out of this industry, and we are taking this opportunity to give back. We have set aside as a company, and it's been a proud moment for me as an immigrant coming into the country and starting a business. We've set aside $1 million to contribute back. And the way we are doing it is we are offering a fully managed, no strings attached, free 90-day, full end-to-end usage of the Commerce IQ platform and what we have to offer. We have some fantastic people on board. Many of them have been ex-vendor managers, have managed large, complex businesses. The entire company essentially is, we've opened it up for a limited time of 90 days, and we're offering it to the first 10 consumer brands that raise their hands, especially in the essentials category. And for this, we currently, I believe, have about 4 left. If you are interested in taking advantage of this, please do email me. The email address is in the last slide. We'll be going through that. Or please feel free to submit the form on our website, commerceiq.ai. Great. So I'll just I'll move to any questions out there and then wrap it up.
Yes, we got a couple of questions, Guru. One, where do I begin if I've never used any type of automation?
I think that's a great question for Neil because I understand that he's gone through this journey and would probably be the best to come from him.
Yeah, no, I here's what was great about working with Commerce IQ is that the process starts with as long as you have an active ARA premium account. Basically, getting the Commerce IQ the Commerce IQ system bolts on through an API very easily with the ARAP system or tool that I think most vendors, 1P vendors, are used to dealing with. So if you're familiar, you don't need to be any sort of AI or decision support expert, but as long as you really understand the mechanics of how the Amazon environment works, even at a macro level, and utilize and are familiar with ARAP, within a matter of time, within like 2 or 3 weeks of getting access to our ARAP account, Guru's team was able to literally say, hey, here are the keys to the system and here you go. And our team was off and running. And just by being in the tool every day, you become so much wiser, and you'll find yourself being more of an expert than you think after a relatively short amount of time. But because of the nature of it being there's not a lot of huge systems or data integration work, or you don't need to be some sort of IT expert. Again, because it is a bolt-on application to basically a SaaS or type of solution that just needs access to your ARAP, it's fairly easy to jump in the pool.
Excellent. One more question. What measures of success /ROI should I be looking at?
That's still a debate every day within my company, so I'll let Guru take that one.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great. I think the reality is, look, I think if you it is a new operating model, though, so you could start with sort of thinking about are we winning and are we set up for our future. It really starts with creating a new operating model and instituting this. But when it comes down to, at the end of the day, it's the way we have seen our customers measure growth or measure impact is profitable market share growth. At the end of the day, that's what matters. Are you growing, and are you growing profitably? And are you growing faster than the category? So those are a few things. That's I would say at the end of the day, that's what really matters, and see the measurable ROI from it. But I also want to sort of point back to some of the things that Neil talked about earlier in the conversation, that being the output metric, but it does come back and talk about and help us measure the input metrics, which is around, is your availability going up? Is your share of voice on the digital shelf going up? How about the organic share of voice? Is that going up? Is your profitability on the channel, the net PPM, going up? Those are things which we have seen, to say the least, in terms of how at least we are working with our customers through joint business plans and joint success plans to essentially help them really think through and identify and attack some of the core issues at the foundational level so that you get the right output at the end of the day.
No, I think that's really, really well said. One of the best things that the tool does is it provides visibility and some nice dashboarding of both input and output metrics. A perfect example is it gives us also the raw conversion and glance view data, which, as Guru said, when if you rewind 6 months or a year ago and everybody's in a ROAS or type of world, it's great. You could be fishing in a barrel from a paid search perspective and get great return on ad spend. But now, an evolution is one example of many, is looking at your organic search relevancy, and are you growing that based on your AMS execution and spend, and over time being able to actually take your foot off the gas on paid and be able to rely on organic based on how well you executed or both from a frequency and timing standpoint executed your paid search campaigns and strategies. So it's a perfect example of how the tool provides you with some of those macro level or output measures, but then provides you with the visibility and connection to really the granular data that you need to action it and prove it out.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you both. For more information about this topic, you can reach out to Guru and Neil. Their contact information is on the screen. Thank you again, both of you, for an excellent, very detailed presentation.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks, everyone.